Hi, and welcome back to the It Girl podcast. I am here with
Julia, the Millennial
the
Decorator.
Millennial Decorator. The greatest vintage tastemaker and total It Girl, and my friend, who I just love, but she is behind the Millennial Decorator, and we all know it. We all love it. So, Julia, tell us about your journey and how you got started and how you became an It Girl.
Well, thanks for having me and considering me an It Girl.
Of course.
I started the account in 2020. I really just needed a creative outlet. It was like the dark ages of the pandemic. No one was leaving their house. I was unemployed on unemployment.
Weren't we all?
We all were.
We all were.
Literally all. I got laid off February 2020.
Wow, that's crazy.
And by the time that I was lined up for new jobs, everything went off the table because of the pandemic. I really just needed a creative outlet and decided to come up with an Instagram account that just showed my life and my home, and hence the name, how I was decorating my life. And it originally was just going to be for that, ways that I was decorating my space on kind of an affordable and vintage, affordable budget and in a vintage way. And the account today has completely morphed. Now we're known for vintage shoes primarily, which is awesome. But yeah, I really just started as a vintage homeware account where I was sharing my life. And one day I decided to share some things that I had found, little vintage trinkets. And I had these Hermes jars, and I posted them on my story because I had 6, and people were, they immediately were all gone. And at that point I had realized that okay, maybe people were interested in things just beyond my home and my space. They were actually interested in, my eye and my curation. So that morphed very early on, and I started curating these vintage drops primarily around the home. And I was doing vintage coffee table book drops, vintage ashtray drops, and the following was slowly growing. And then in the spring of, I want to say 2022, I had randomly posted an Instagram being should we do a clothing drop one of these days? And people commented. It wasn't that many, but enough commented to where I was okay, people are actually interested in that as well. And I decided to launch a vintage shoe drop and shoe curation because I found that vintage clothing wasn't really inclusive enough. I would be sourcing one Dior button down that fit one person and not everyone, whereas shoes fit everybody. And that completely blew up. Everything sold. My first drop, I had probably 8 pairs. And today it's just morphed into this amazing community and this amazing space where I'm able to share my vintage curations and finds, and that's about it.
Why do you think the shoes just took it to another level?
I think there were a few things. I mean, there's always just a magical concoction of elements that make something successful. At the time, I didn't know. It wasn't I was, planning this and I was this is going to blow up and it's going to be huge. It was something I just kind of wanted to try. And I even included, and kind of the idea behind it was just including a few vintage heels of mine. I think at the time there wasn't anything like that. Now, of course, there's tons of vintage shoe accounts that are solely dedicated to sourcing vintage shoes, just like me. But at the time, there really wasn't anyone doing that. And I think I didn't really understand how massive of an interest women have in shoes and appetite for shoes. And once I launched the drop and I saw that and I saw how the following started growing and growing, I understood that there was just this massive hunger for comfortable, chic, unique heels. And of course, I had support early on. Of course, that grew, and the following fall, I started working with Mir Palais and did their first show with them, which was incredible, and sourced all the shoes for that.
How did that come about?
I had messaged Marcelo and was I think you're incredible and what you've built is amazing. And I kind of never shy away from telling people that. I've made good friends on Instagram like that. And I just think when someone's doing awesome, they deserve someone. People forget that you can say to someone I think you're awesome. But I had messaged him, and a few months or weeks later, he messaged me And at this point, I'd done like a few vintage shoe drops, and I think following was picking up. And he was like, "Do you want to source all the shoes for our first show?" And I immediately said yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's such a big moment. Do you think that was one of the defining moments for you so far where you were like, okay, this is going to go to the next level?
Again, like I didn't think, okay, this is taking me to the next level. Like this is going to put me at the top. Like my brain doesn't really work that way. It was more so like, holy moly, I'm working with a fashion designer for his first show during Fashion Week. Like these are the things I only dreamed about. Like that for me was such a dream come true. You know, someone that like grew up watching Devil Wears Prada and like dreamt of this life.
Oh, Miranda Priestley would love the Millennial Decorator for sure.
I don't know. I think Andy Sachs would like it better
Yes.
than Miranda. I think Miranda would be like, vintage, no.
The it girls know. Like
Yes.
that it's cool. Yeah. And she's kind of more of I don't know, because I could see Anna Wintour being like, get me those. She has those shoes that I want. Get me those. Did you already have all of the pieces, or how did you start sourcing them? Was it kind of like, oh, I have these shoes that I want to get rid of or sell or whatever?
So I only had 2 pairs. I had 2 pairs of Chanel mules that were in my very first vintage shoe drop, and that was the idea. I like didn't really want to list them on like Depop or Poshmark or give them to the Real when I already had this platform dedicated to vintage. The rest were all very curated. And to this day, I think people are really drawn to that curation, and everything I'm including in my drops has a purpose. I'm thinking about each and every shoe I'm sourcing. Aside from that, like it's all been just fine combing, like sourcing and ensuring that like it's really part of this curated world I'm imagining.
Do you do sourcing for private clients?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
We get
okay.
requests every day for private sourcing, whether it's a bride, a bridesmaid, a mother, someone wanting to gift their mother, a daughter. Like we get requests all the time.
And where do you just go out and do you go to thrift stores? Do you?
No. Personally, I hate thrift stores.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
They
gosh, a
give
vintage
me-
sourcer who hates thrift stores.
I know, the irony. They give me a headache.
Yeah, it is overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. It's smelly. It's just,
yeah.
It's never been my vibe at all. It's funny too, because there's a thrift store literally right here at the corner, and it's a great one. Even that one, I don't frequent that often. Everything I do is like, again, like I am searching for it, whether it's I'm working with a vintage sourcer online, wherever, from an individual. I have so much of my following that sells me their shoes too, that I'll take a
that's
look at.
great little flip side.
Yeah. So that's also really great in terms of like finding really unique pairs of shoes.
No, that's a good little inside tip, because now you kind of have this database
Yeah.
where you can go to the girls.
Yes.
Okay, I love it. And what role do it girls play in your business?
A big one. You know, I think especially building a brand on Instagram today, you having the support of a so-called girl or it person or, you know, whomever, designer, influencer, I think really helps a business, especially if you've founded yourself and you're kind of your main core business exists on Instagram. It happened very naturally that people that are today called it girls followed me or bought from me, and I've never really done much gifting. I've never really I've never really done any of that, but it's been really organic, and that's been the most amazing part to see. And a lot of those relationships have turned into close relationships of mine, whether it's working with someone, working with an influencer, working with a designer, sourcing wedding shoes for them, or, you know, something like that. It's really morphed into something special.
Being an it girl can be a bit of a flash in the pan. And we see a lot of people come in and come out, especially in fashion, pop in, pop out.
Yeah.
What are your plans for longevity? What's next? Where do you see yourself taking everything?
I think I'm a little bit interesting because I'm not an influencer. I'm not a public figure. I'm a brand owner first and foremost. And I think that's what I want to continue to be. People don't really see my face ever. And I never wanted to include my face. I never wanted to make myself part of the core business, because what I was really concerned about and focused about was really just building a community. So I think in terms of longevity, I would love to just continue growing the brand and growing this community of people that are like interested and driven by vintage and wanting to make purchasing decisions around vintage, and continuing my work with brands behind the scenes. And like that to me is like the dream.
Do you want to have a store?
I've thought about it, and
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I think I'd have like a little hole in the wall. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be opening up a huge store. I don't think the shoes would stay in the store. I think everything would be gone,
Mm-hmm.
number one. But, I've toyed with the idea. I love the idea of like taking like Carrie Bradshaw's closet and making that like a store, like
that would be amazing.
a really fun just place for women to come in, and it can only be about shoes.
Has Sarah Jessica Parker reached out to you in any way?
No, but
Oh my gosh,
I know.
if the second she sees it,
I know.
will reach her, and when it does, she's going to simply die. You're the modern day Carrie Bradshaw, or at the very least, you're where Carrie Bradshaw shops. Sure.
That's that's the nicest compliment you can ever say to me.
No, without a doubt, she would.
If you
would
see
die,
her in the East Village,
I will.
you
We have to figure out a way to get you
evangelize her.
one, and just like that.
Oh,
We have to figure out some way, or at least your shoes. We have to.
That's like my dream. But
Sarah would be a fan.
Sarah has her own shoe line, and I think she started incorporating a lot of her shoes very fairly so into and just like that, which is really fun to see because she'll like take elements of Carrie Bradshaw and put like the mismatched shoes and launch that for her own shoe brand. But I would love to get some.
We're gonna
shoes
figure out how to
on the ladies.
We're gonna figure out how to do that because I know she would love it. She is like a true shoe lover. Did you know you wanted to do you have a passion for shoes? Is there a reason why shoes just stuck for you?
It's funny, like I just wrote a Substack yesterday about, I did like a sneaker roundup, and I wrote that it surprises people when I say that I'm not a heels girl. I'm like in sneakers.
Okay.
I wore my heels for you today just to be fancy, but I'm in sneakers 99.9% of the time. I think for me, heels were a very like interesting niche within the world of vintage. And again, like it was accessible, not only for me, but for whomever I would want to get shoes on. Shoes, I've sourced size 34 to a 42 or 43 before. That's a big size range that fits everyone. So
What about a shoe line? Would you do your own shoe line? Or are you really attached to the vintage?
I think it would be really interesting taking elements of vintage shoes that I've sourced and love and creating something with that.
Yeah.
Whether it's in collaboration with someone, whether it's by myself, definitely something I've thought of before and could potentially be on the product roadmap.
Ooh, oh my gosh, wait, I could see that. I could see that if you collabed with a shoe brand that was already established. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that for you. See, there's your plans for longevity. Okay. I like to see where the girls want to take it, what the next step is, what the next level is, because not everyone wants a fashion line. Not everybody wants a store. Some people really do. Some people don't.
Yeah.
I've been asked, would you want to have a fashion line? Is that what you would want? And I would not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I don't even know if I ever would want to have a product, to be completely honest with you. It's just a lot of work. It's blood, sweat, and tears. It's just, you have to put so much of your DNA into it, and it's just so hard. And I don't know that I would. So I like to, but you have to do something to stick. Podcasting won't be around forever. I mean, interviewing has always been around, but it shifts. And so I like to see what the girls are like. Longevity is important. I think not enough it girls think about that. They don't think about, okay, what am I going to do for the next 5 to 10 years as everything changes, as the climate changes, what am I going to do? But I could see a Millennial Decorator being just so vintage inspired. And no, I think that would be really, really incredible. You said that you don't show your face. Yeah. And you're not really, is your name even anywhere?
I mean, when I get press,
it's your name.
It's my name. And I've even thought of like retracting that.
Oh, really?
I'm not someone that does well in the public eye. Like, I have so much respect for influencers, for creators, for brand owners in the public eye, because it's a lot of pressure. And it's just not something that suits me well. It's just not something I really want. But at least on TMD, I'm very adamant about not really showing my face. Who knows if that'll ever change. But for me, it's really first and foremost about the shoes and the product.
Are people pressuring you to show your face? Is that something that you discuss a lot?
No,
I've talked to you about it a bit, but I wonder if that's something that you have to talk about a lot.
No, people don't really care, again, because I'm a business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people want to see my face. They want to see what's on my feet. So I'm happy to show that, or in my home, or how I'm styling something. So, it's fun. Like, people will be like, oh my God, is that you? Is this a face reveal sometimes? And I'll be like, no, that's not me. But Yeah, I'm so
We had an
content.
girl Millennial Decorator face reveal.
Yeah,
Yeah, we revealed
the
your face.
big face reveal.
What's so funny to me is two people, everyone said, I love her, positive comments, but nobody was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen her face. Like nobody was focused on that. They weren't like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I've seen her or what. They were like, love her, as if they never realized they had never seen your face. And that was one of the first things I thought of, is I was like, oh, you don't show your face. And like when I meet up with girls, I kind of like know what to expect. And I was like, wait, I don't even know what she looks like. She could walk right by me and I wouldn't even know. And I thought people were going to freak out and be like, and we're seeing her, but they just were like, we love her.
I don't know. Maybe those people have seen my face before. Who knows?
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, part of being an it girl is your presence and your face. So I kind of like being an anonymous it girl. That's definitely my
back in the day too. Like no one would know what a brand owner looked like. We didn't know what brand owners looked like back in the day. That was just not a thing.
Unless you were like a big designer.
Yeah, unless you were DKNY. It was like you didn't know who was
Donna
behind.
Karen.
Yeah, like you didn't know who was behind the brand.
Yeah.
Now it's like you kind of have to have your own personal brand
Alongside whatever you're creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an element of it. Do you have a Finsta?
I have a real Insta under my name.
Okay.
But it's private. Like I've kept, it's like people I went to high school with. But
oh my gosh, I love it. And that's very.
I'm like a Hannah Montana of shoes. I have my shoe world and I have my private world, and I like the two.
Do you have celebrity clientele?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would like depend what you classify as a celebrity, but I've definitely worked with amazing, huge influencers. I've definitely worked with people I would call celebrities, and I feel very lucky too and honored that they trust me for different things.
And the fashion industry is a tricky one. I had my time and it was crazy. Is there anything about being in fashion that has really surprised you or challenged you in a way you weren't expecting?
I think the competition. I think that, I wouldn't really classify myself as a vintage, like a fashion brand, like a Mirapelle, for example. I think I'm in a vintage niche of vintage brands that were started on Instagram, but even that is competitive. Like when I started sourcing vintage shoes, the prices were probably a third of what they are now on the second-hand market, and there was excess of everything. And I think a lot of the styles that I sourced first now have become these like holy grail vintage shoes to find, and they're literally thousands of dollars on the secondhand market for like me to be sourcing. So there was so much that came up after I started and as I grew that like I had to just get comfortable with in terms of competition and the way that people do business and the way that I do business and what I held as like a moral value versus others that necessarily didn't. But I think that would be kind of in the world of vintage solely. In the world of fashion, I think that we've been accepted really well, working with contemporary brands because we're not competition.
Mm-hmm.
We're vintage shoes, we're archival, and they go really well with someone that's creating something that doesn't already have vintage shoes. Or even if they do make shoes or contemporary shoes, even if they do make shoes, people love an inclusion of vintage as well. So that's been really nice to see. I've worked with LPA, I've worked with Mirapelle, I've worked with Danielle Guzio. I've worked with so many brands that have just like included us and continuously include us, which has been really nice and kind of surprising to see.
Yeah, those are such great brands. Like that's really just unheard of, honestly, to kind of like come from nowhere and pop up and have that happen. I feel like that's such a testament to your taste because you are such a tastemaker and you just curate things in such a beautiful way. And I'm always like, gosh, she just gets it. It's so elegant and so chic. Where do you feel like you got your personal style from?
I don't know. I think a few years ago, I was sick and freaking tired of going into Zara, buying something, and then in 2 or 4 months, it being something that's in like my donate pile. So I would say about like 3, 4 years ago now, I started converting my wardrobe into all vintage. Like anything I was looking to buy, I was looking for it on the secondhand market. And today I have like this kind of staple wardrobe of vintage clothing that has really informed my style. And I think a lot of other people have been talking about it as well, this like so-called capsule wardrobe. And I think that looks different for everyone. So my style today really consists of vintage. I mean, everything I'm wearing today is vintage, aside from my bag.
And where do you like to shop?
Everything I buy is I don't know, eBay. I've had things that like I love.
I have not cracked the eBay code yet.
No.
And my most stylish friends are eBay girlies who
I
know
know.
what they're doing. I'm always like, where did you get that? And they're like, eBay. And I'm like, gosh, eBay overwhelms me.
That's how I feel about the Real. Something
I was
about
gonna
it.
ask if you're a real fan.
No, I am. I just can't find anything on there.
Hundreds and hundreds. It overwhelms me so much.
The interface for me just doesn't like. I can't comprehend what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
There's people that find the most amazing things on the Real.
Girls in New York that I interview.
Oh,
why are you the most stylish human being ever? And they're like, everything I buy is the Real. Everything, head to toe, all day, every day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I go on there and I just go, oh,
yeah.
and I can't do it.
Well, I'll look for you if I find something on eBay. I'll send it your way. But like, this is from eBay. It's vintage Ralph Lauren jean button down. My jeans are from Shop RLT, who's an amazing vintage store. Rachel runs it. It's literally down the street. All my vintage Levi's are from her. Shoes are from me, of course. And they're like vintage Prada boots that I worked with like one of my dealers to source. And then my watch is vintage, also vintage Cartier. But yeah, I think my mom also informed a lot of my style. My mom is European. She was a fashion importer before I was born. She was working with like Sandro, importing fashion from Paris to LA. And all my life, like I saw her get dressed in staples, get dressed in things that she's had for 25, 30 years. It wasn't about this like massive consumerism. Let's go shopping every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like we didn't do that. And if we were going shopping, we were shopping at like Marshall's most likely for clothing for me, which was totally fine. But I think even looking at someone like Marshall's today as an adult, there's nothing wrong with shopping there or Ross or wherever. But for me, I just didn't want to feed into this like massive consumerism anymore. And I also think it's so much more unique to wear something vintage. Like,
yeah,
I noticed it the second we sat down, you're wearing a beautiful Dior button down. Like that.
it is vintage.
I
think
it's
it's West
stunning.
Vintage, I want to say. Isn't it cute? Oh my
It's
gosh, they sent it
stunning.
to me. I was dying.
And like you can't find that at Zara.
Yeah.
Even this, like Ralph Lauren still makes jean button downs, but I don't know, the silhouette.
No, you can tell the difference. My mom had that back in the day, and you can tell that it's vintage. It's just a quality that you don't
so
find.
much more interesting. And even with vintage Levi's too, like I love trying vintage ones because I know that there's going to be a pair I find that fit me a different way each time and are perfect for my body. So for me, vintage is just very much so informed my style and the way I'm dressing.
Do you have any tips for vintage shopping or shopping on eBay for the girls?
I always know what I'm looking for.
So you find the piece first?
Yes.
Like Pinterest or something like that, magazines?
My bed. Okay. Like let's say, so for my next drop, right, I wanted to include boots. I've known that from my experience, I love like vintage Prada boots. I think the silhouette of them is really beautiful. So I started sourcing vintage Prada boots and I have like 3-4 different colors already and people have been asking me where they're from. If I'm shopping for myself, let's say I wanted like a new button down, I'd probably just go to eBay and be like search Ralph Lauren vintage button down and just go through all the colors, see what I like. The other day I saw someone style this gorgeous like butter yellow pullover over like a trench coat. I just loved the way she styled it. And I just started looking on eBay I just typed like butter yellow cotton knit sweater and I got one from, it was some random brand. It was like a $12 sweater. And the one that girl had originally linked was like a $200 sweater. So even like the cost analysis of shopping vintage versus contemporary is crazy if like you're able to find a good deal.
That's a very good tip because I think that's why I get overwhelmed. I think that's why eBay, I just don't know
because we're like, what do I even type in? Where do I even start? And when people have asked me for their like tips of a capsule wardrobe, I always say like, it's going to look different for you than it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
Start with what you like, what you feel comfortable in. If that's a white t-shirt and you want to look for a vintage white t-shirt, start there versus like, okay, I need to replace my entire wardrobe. Where do I even start? What do I look for? What do I type in? It's much easier that way.
Yeah, that's when it gets overwhelming. And I feel like building out your capsule wardrobe is hard and you kind of have to find your uniform.
Yeah.
Do you have a staple uniform?
Yeah.
I definitely do.
Yeah. I think at our age, we're already wearing like
Yeah.
uniform. During the week, I'm always in sneakers because I'm packing up boxes and bending. I'm carrying heavy things. I love Solomon sneakers. They're so comfortable. If I'm going out, well, during the week, okay, I'll be in Solomon sneakers, probably a legging or like a very loose silk pant or something adjacent that I'm comfortable in, a tank top and a sweater of some sort. And then, like, if I'm going out or on weekends, I love a vintage heel with a vintage jean or a
I
vintage
love
boot.
jeans and heels. I'm such a jeans and heels.
Me too. Me too. That's like if I'm going out to dinner, that's what I'll wear. Or a vintage boot under jeans and then a looser button down or baggy shirt or something. I have to have something baggy on me if I'm wearing something tight. It can't be both or one or the other. Like it has
So
to be.
elegant.
Yeah, well,
So elegant. No, I feel like all the girls are always looking for just like style tips. It's like you just have to find the one thing that works and just find a variation and don't try to be super trendy or you're gonna get lost.
Yeah, and also ensure that it's comfortable. Like I'm doing an interview, whatever, it's gonna be in person, I'll be photographed, and my brain has started to think, okay, what do I want to wear? And the first thing that came to mind was like, it doesn't matter what I put on my body, as long as I'm comfortable, I'm going to look confident and I'm going to be comfortable. If I'm going out and just looking for a dress, let's say, and the dress looked fine and I thought I looked good, but I wasn't comfortable in it, that's going to prohibit me from actually feeling good. So clothing that you're comfortable in is like key.
Do you have any employees or is it just you right now?
No,
It's just you?
me, which really surprises people.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. It's just me. And
Is that why you do everything in drops? Or is that just to build hype?
no, I don't have the capacity to constantly be putting things online and boxing orders. Like that takes hours.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Hours.
I can barely run a Depop.
Yeah.
I literally was like, I need to hire someone to manage my Depop because I just can't take pictures with this many pieces of clothing.
No, and I'm doing a photo shoot. I'm taking pictures. I'm taking BTS.
Do you do all that
I'm
from your
taking
house?
content. Depends. I've started doing a lot of my like actual drop photo shoots as more of like a campaign style because I like telling the actual story. A lot of it is taken at my house of like day-to-day content. And then I have to take photos for the website, upload them, upload all the descriptions, and then I drop, which is really exciting. And everyone's really excited about it, which is amazing. And like the best feeling that people are excited about what I'm putting out there. But then you have to pack all the orders. And luckily I have help. Like I do have a guy that helps me like box a lot of my stuff, or I'll bring him stuff almost boxed and he'll finish the rest for me. But that stuff takes literal hours and hours and hours.
Yes.
But
I can't believe you do it all yourself.
it's rewarding. And I like having the one-to-one interactions with my community. Like,
So you're doing all the customer service too.
all of it, all the DMs, all the emails. But I like
Wow.
that. Like, I want people to feel like they're part of someone. They're actually interacting with someone who really cares. And I think that's also when you're talking about growth, there's like a very fine line between growing a brand and losing yourself and like losing your core. And I think you have to be careful about that because I've definitely seen brands that have grown and, whether it's they've grown their product offering or they've grown their size or their capabilities, whatever it is, that can get lost a little bit.
And I feel like the unique thing about your business is that it's literally your taste. The entire thing is dependent on your taste. No one could ever take over or step in. It's literally you just having an incredible eye. And if you lose you lose so much.
Well, I struggled with that too when you're talking about just like not even competition, but like, with seeing other vintage brands pop up doing exactly the same thing you're doing. I struggled with that because people started sourcing the exact same things I was, including the exact same shoes, shooting the exact same way I was. But, it took me a little bit of time, but I remembered like it's me at the end of the day. And no one can take me away from me, and you can copy me to an exact T, but it's still
That's the it
someone
girl.
else.
That's the life of an it girl.
But I didn't ever have that mentality. I didn't understand that. And then beyond that, for me, it wasn't even about content or taking someone else's content or sourcing the exact same shoes someone else had. for me, it was about my relationships. And that was like the signaling thing for me. I'm like, my relationships are so important to me. Nobody can take these away. Nobody can deter that. Like, and that is really the most meaningful thing for me and the community that I've built.
And the confidence to create relationships in fashion is not something that everybody has. They can take as many pictures as they want. They can have as many cute shoes as they want. But to be able to harness relationships in the industry is a skill, a true skill.
I've always loved I'm an only child. So for me, like, I loved being around other people. I was like the kid that, like, my mom always says when I would come to preschool, all the kids would run to me screaming, Julia's here. Like, I always loved being around others. So for me, it's nice hearing you say that, but I never, like, it was natural telling someone they're awesome. And I think you do this too, where you're just like, no, I think you're awesome. We need to meet. Like, I want to be your friend.
Yes, you're my friend. Yeah, you are my friend. Friends now. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna do stuff with each other. I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna be there when you drop something. I'm coming.
Exactly.
And
that I guess how you put it is true. Like, it does take skill. It does take guts to be that type of person. But when it's natural for you, other people feel that it's natural also, and they're not like off put by it. But that's another thing I've said before to people. Like, never be afraid of going out of your way to say something nice to someone, because you never know where it can lead you. Even meeting you, like, I met this web of people through you. Like, you never know.
Yeah, be supportive of others. That's what we say. We say it girls are nice girls.
It girls are nice.
If everybody, if all it girls realized their power and respected other it girls' power, I'm always like, we could run the world. Girls that people say, oh, she's basic, she's this, she's that. I'm like, no, she has power.
Yeah, and you just don't like it.
Yeah, and it bothers you that she has power.
Yeah. I mean, I think girls do run the world. They just don't get enough recognition about it. But I agree that, like, there could be, if we all supported each other a little bit more,
we could take
over. It's like literally the movie Barbie.
Truly, that is the ethos of It Girl, is the Barbie movie, is like, if we joined together instead of letting them turn us against each other, the way we sell things out, the marketing capability of women, the way we can sell things to each other, the way we can make something cool, and the way we can be tastemakers and make a brand, the way you made a brand out of simply having great taste, that is such power.
Well, there's nothing more that I love too. Like, my favorite thing is when someone will DM me and be like, which glasses do you think I should get? I just got these shoes and I wanted to share them with you. Like,
oh, that's so lovely.
Women that are, like, just genuinely excited to be a part of something and, like, just want to share that. Like, that is my favorite type of interaction, that people can come to me knowing that like, I'm there to support and, like, be like, that's freaking awesome. One girl DM'd me once. She's like, no one in my family loves fashion, but I just found these vintage Manolos and I didn't know who else to share them with, so I'm sharing them with you. And, like, that warmed my heart.
And I've always been the girl, I remember there was this girl I went to middle school with, and I just thought she was so cool. And she was never friends with me, never wanted anything to do with me. And I always thought she had the cutest clothes. And at that point in time, I just didn't get a lot of new clothes, and I just wasn't shopping like the other girls were. And I wore the same, like, sweatshirt every day. And I remember asking her where she got this skirt, and she got so mad at me because I asked where her skirt was from. And I remember being so upset because I was like, I just wanted to look like her. I just wanted to dress like her. And it always became my mission when people ask me where something's from. I tell them, I'm like, I got this for $4 and here's where I got it. I got this for $27. It's at Zara. I got it 6 months ago. You might not be able to find it, but here's the number. I have never been a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Before even saying gatekeeping was a thing, this girl I went to middle school with, I wish I could say her name, but she was the OG gatekeeper.
She was the OG influencer when they weren't, like, known yet.
Yes. And gatekeeper.
But I remember those days when girls were like, you can't have what I have.
And it was, could you imagine if you showed up to an event in the same dress as somebody? And I'm like, if I showed up to an event, if I were at prom in the same dress, I'd be like, twins.
Yeah. No, I would have loved to interact with middle school Bailey, number one. But
I would have thought you were so cool, and I would have asked where you got everything.
My peak was definitely, like, college, post-college. I was never the person people were coming to for, like, I don't know, style advice.
Maybe that's why we love it. Because when girls ask me where I get something, when people DM me, anyone can DM me and ask where I got something, I'm telling you, they'll go, I got a response. I'll be like, this is where I got it. Here's the link, queen. Like, I love when people ask me where I got stuff, or I love this outfit. Where are these shoes from? I'm like,
too.
I need them right now. I'm going to get them for you.
That's why I started a Substack too, because it was like beyond what I'm just putting on the Millennial Decorator. I want to be talking about the other things that are like interesting to me in my life.
Subscribe to your
That I'm
Substack.
shopping, that I'm like looking at. So I love that. Like people telling me they consider me a tastemaker or whatever.
Absolutely.
Coming to me for my
You are the tastemaker.
coming to me for my advice for things. Like I love nothing more than that. It's such like a compliment because I never even thought of myself that way.
Everyone I say like, oh, you have to meet the Millennial Decorator. Do you follow the Millennial Decorator? Blah, blah, blah. They're always like, oh, I love her. Oh my gosh, I love her. Her flat lays. Nobody does a flat lay like you, girl. Nobody. My friend, I was literally with my friend and she was like, she posted this bag and I had to have this bag. She made me want this bag so bad. She was like, I don't even know how she does it, but she makes me want things. And I'm like, that's an it girl right there. If you can make somebody want stuff, making somebody want stuff is a superpower.
It's just stuff I like that I think resonates with other people that I like.
It's amazing. I think you need a
Want.
coffee table book.
Yeah, I've gotten that before.
I would buy the Millennial Decorator coffee table book in 2 seconds.
I would love like all the people who've bought shoes from me to take pictures of the shoes in their life and like give me those images and make a book of that. I would love that.
Oh, I love
And maybe a few bag flat lays and sing
even if you
series.
turned your entire Instagram into a coffee. Like every picture
I
you
know
posted on
that's what
Instagram.
people have said to me before. Yeah, they're like, please make a coffee table book. I'd love this image.
Watching New York did that. Do you follow him?
No.
Oh, it's good. It's he's super nice. His name's Johnny. We film in the same corner, so I see him all the time. But he is like the premier street. I don't think there's a bigger street photographer in the world. Like he's the street photographer, millions of followers, and just everybody in New York is always wanting to get on his page. And he made a coffee table book of his Instagram. So it's just all the pictures he had taken for his Instagram. And I was like,
I have to
now
look
this
at
is
that.
chic. It was good. I was like, this is something here.
I have to check that out.
It was better than Kim K's selfie book for sure. Like I was like, this is a smarter idea.
Yeah.
Just taking your Instagram and making it
Well,
tangible.
it is. It's like a visual diary.
Mm-hmm. I never even thought of that. Like I was like, oh, you could just turn your Instagram into a book.
Yeah. Yeah, I want Mirapelle to do that because they have such gorgeous imagery. I've told them, they know that I think this, but yeah, there are definitely so many people that I would just love to have their Instagram as a book for sure. Maybe you've given me the confidence to do it. Yes. Who knows?
I will be your first customer.
Okay.
I will buy that book. So our last question, and this is the most important question in the world. Who do you think is the ultimate it girl?
I would say for me, I mean,
It doesn't have to be one.
so many. I mean, like Princess Diana for me was my first it girl when you didn't even call her an it girl. Like I had such a fascination with her growing up and her story and the way that she was so bold in her life. I think she's definitely inspired me both like fashion dressing wise and just like life wise, you know.
It always breaks my heart that she doesn't know
her legacy,
her impact. That's the part that kills me is the fact that she just doesn't know that to this day we're fascinated.
I know. Well, I think
like her light never dimmed.
Never. Well, luckily her children know that and they're alive and well. But for me, like, I don't know, I would always ask like my mom or my mom's friends or parents of my friends, like, where were they when Princess Diana died and do they remember her being alive? And I just had such an intense fascination and I still do with her. And I think her being so bold in the like way she chose to live her life, like even, you know, at the time, like the AIDS epidemic was a thing and she was like, it was a whole big thing because she hugged a person with AIDS. And at the time people didn't know how it was spread or like, you know, if you could get sick from hugging someone with AIDS. And she was just bold in everything she did. And I think that's always resonated with me.
And so elegant.
So that's beside everything.
Yeah, beside everything. Just
the woman had
elegant.
The best style. And if you look today at like the things she used to wear, you know, like a Cartier watch, a Bulgari watch, a bag, the Lady Diana Dior bag, like these are all staple, like holy grail things in our lives today. And she was the one that made them famous.
I rarely support the criticism of influencers because I have a lot of opinions on it. I think, you know, the way people criticize it girls and influencers, it's like they just want to hate it because it's something women love and women are passionate about. And anytime women get together and do something, it's going to be destroyed and torn apart or be called stupid. Fashion is stupid. Why is fashion stupid, but sports aren't? You know, it's always cars aren't stupid, but jewelry is, whatever, or whatever a woman is into. And even if it is sports that a woman is into or cars that a woman is into, it's stupid and she's a pick-me for being into it. So I don't ever support the criticism of influencers except when you look at someone like Princess Diana. It's like, remember that because you have a platform, remember to be lovely, remember to be kind, remember that you have an impact on people. And the only time is when it's just like these snobby, awful people. And I'm like, think of the it girls who came before you. They conduct themselves with some poise. Like, try to have some poise, just be lovely to people and you'll get a lot further. And that's the only time when I'm like, I support the criticism of influencers, is when they're just like so pretentious. And I'm like, why does no other it girl act like that wasn't on Instagram?
I think it's just a level of like getting so conflated and inflated in your own head with a following that just unfortunately happens. I mean, I'm born and raised in LA. I've seen my fair share of that. But yeah, I think I don't know, like she's just definitely, till the end of time, she'll be an it girl, at least for me. Carolyn Bessette Kennedy is another one. She informs a lot of the shoes that I source, and personal style and this like timeless nature that both of them had. But ultimate, I think in today's time, who's alive and well, Pat Field. She's the costume designer. She's an incredible costume designer. At least that's what she's known for today. She did The Devil Wears Prada. She did Sex and the City. She's best known for Sex and the City, all the seasons, all the movies. And then her like understudy essentially is doing And Just Like That now. Pat is no longer doing the personal styling for And Just Like That, but her team is that worked under her for all the seasons. Beyond that, a lot of people, I read her biography. I think a lot of people our age don't even know this, but she had like one of the first kind of like vintage / contemporary stores in New York City in like the 80s and maybe even 70s and 90s. Like it's morphed. The store is morphed, but at its heyday, she was employing a lot of like trans individuals. Keith Haring and Basquiat used to hang out at the store, and like she just has all these incredible stories about how she just like championed the rights of so many trans individuals, and you know, like was just at the epicenter of this like arts and cultures in New York during its like heyday in the 80s. And I think she's just incredible. She's the daughter of immigrant parents that had like a dry cleaner business. I'm pretty sure it was dry cleaning. And she built a career for herself, kind of like me, just by a fluke. You know, she was brought onto Sex and the City by a fluke. During her time on Sex and the City, she made so many of the brands we know today what they are.
Yes. So many brands owe Pat Field.
Yes. Hanky Panky, the underwear brand, Pat put them in like one episode of Sex and the City and the brand blew up. Manola Blahnik, she talks about how when she was putting Manola Blahniks on any of the girls in Sex and the City, Manolos were going for like $5 in the bins on sale. And she completely just blew them up. Fendi also. She worked with Fendi very early on during the show. So I just find her career fascinating. I find her talent fascinating.
She's so true to herself even to this day.
Oh, yeah.
It's so distinguishable.
She is an icon, but, you know, she's also created these just like, these timeless, iconic looks, you know, like The Devil Wears Prada. You know, today I see all the time like a vintage seller or someone talking about this one archival Marni polka dot top from The Devil Wears Prada that she found that Andy Sachs wore, or the Dior or the Chanel thigh-high boots, you know, that
I saw the Marc Jacobs bag at a store. And like, the blue Marc Jacobs, when she goes, that's the new Marc Jacobs. And I like died.
Yeah.
I couldn't even believe I was looking at it.
I know.
Why I would like you see Marc Jacobs bags all the time, but I saw that bag and I was like, that's the Devil Wears Prada Marc Jacobs.
I know.
It's
like ingrained in our brains now. And as someone who's a vintage seller, who's, you know, looking at these archival styles, like there is nothing better than finding like an archival shoe or something that was part of this larger story that we watched growing up and we're obsessed with today. And I don't know, I think she's just supremely talented and just an incredible person.
Truly. She is. I love it girls that create other it girls. So the ones who are behind it all, kind of like yourself.
Yeah.
I love that element of it is, okay, well, there would be no her if there was no her. There would be no Carrie if there were no her. Do you watch Emily in Paris?
Oh, that was another one she did.
Yeah.
Emily in Paris. Well, Sarah Jessica and Pat Field worked very closely together for a lot of her looks throughout the movies and the show. Like they would have to like convince the directors to like let Carrie wear something, and they would do it together.
Missteps.
Carrie had some wild missteps. She had some wild ass looks, but you know what? All those years, they can't all be hits.
Do you have a favorite Carrie look?
Oh God, that's so hard.
Or a least favorite?
I would say my favorite Carrie look is when she's in Paris and she falls asleep waiting for Alexander Petrovsky in bed.
In the big gown.
And the big tulle, I believe it's a Versace, custom Versace. And she re-wore it again on And Just Like That. But that just like image of her in bed in the Plaza Athénée, like in this huge ball gown, I don't know, is just engraved in my brain. Of course, she has some looks I'm not a fan of, but I almost don't remember them because I'm like, moving on to the next hit. Andy Sachs, too. You know, that like montage of when she already had her style transformation.
Yeah.
She's going to the office and it's all the different looks.
Yeah.
All of those looks to me are just
the fact that she could wear that today.
Incredible.
And she would look amazing.
The Devil Wears Prada, for some reason, like I can watch that movie every single day. I never get sick.
That top that she wears to visit Emily in the hospital.
It's
like a see-through. I think it has a big butterfly on it. It's black. It has like a satin.
Oh, was it a tank top?
I think so. Yes, she has a blazer on.
But yeah. She had this brown Marni. It was like a square on the polka dot top, and I found it, but not in the brown. But she's just so talented, Pat Field.
I want all of those pieces. I would do
anything. You could see Pat Field's collection.
Oh my gosh, I bet she has
of her life.
I bet she has a lot of it.
Well, she tells a story about how Keith Haring drew on her glass window pane in her original store, and she took that paint out, and it's like her prized possession. She framed it, but like imagine what she's amassed and all of these people she's known in her life. Like, it's crazy.
And they all give each other things.
Yeah.
They all just like...
Well, Sarah Jessica has like a storage facility of all the things from the show, which I think is incredible.
That she brings pieces.
I think that's
to the new show. I love that she brings pieces to the new show.
The chewed up Manolo that Pete ate, she still has. Like, just...
Those are some atrocious Manolos, by the way.
I think they're fun.
Oh, the blue with the brown button?
They're not like my normal style, but they're iconic in the sense that like we would never wear them, but we all know them, you know?
Yeah.
There needs to be like a museum display of that entire storage
look
locker.
Where she wore the skirt that Carrie wears a couple times with the big fluff on the back?
Yes.
I think it's Vivian. No, it's
Vivian. Yeah. It's like a pencil with the big.
Yeah. And Zendaya wore it, and I was like, there is no way she would have worn that if Carrie Bradshaw didn't wear it so many times. No way. And of course, Zendaya slayed. But Carrie just wore it in a way that just defined New York style. I have so many thoughts on her looks. Like I would do anything to just, maybe I should do one episode where I just break down all of Carrie's looks.
You should. I can sit there with you and provide.
Yes. she has so many missteps for me that I'm like, I just want to talk about it. But the way that they're missteps, but they're also kind of like, Pat's like style, I think her personal style is very bombacious. It's very bright, and I don't know if bombastic. I don't even know what the correct terminology is, but it's very bright. It's patterns mixed together. It's, like all these things, which
for me, it's also interesting knowing that because a lot of Carrie's looks are like the opposite of that. They're toned down or it's one bright color. It's like just put together so magically.
And I love that even when I rewatch it, I just like never know what she's going to walk into the room wearing.
Yeah,
but and then I notice something and I'm like, what is she wearing? Or I'm like, she's so crazy, but it's amazing. And I'm like, you just never know if she's going to show up looking amazing or if it's going to be kind of ridiculous. And even if it is kind of ridiculous, it's like, okay, hat, but all right, okay, you're wearing this. And just the way she just goes, it's incredible. Like there really isn't anything today that compares. Like I love Gossip Girl style, but it just isn't. No, it's not.
It's not. And it's also interesting for me too because I always considered myself like a Carrie girl first and foremost. But the older I get,
you're Charlotte.
I'm Charlotte.
I was like,
and I'm like
Charlotte.
I'm rewatching the show because I always have it on, and I'm now paying attention to Charlotte's outfits, and I'm like, wow, like I just want to manifest this life for myself.
Charlotte is wildly slept on when it comes to her style.
She always was, but I think there's a Charlotte renaissance going on.
Yes,
I really do because, I don't know, like even myself, I'm like, I want to be in pearls all the time, and your chic Valentino pencil skirt with a pair of stilettos in my Upper East Side apartment. I want that.
She's consistent.
I want
always
that.
Looks beautiful. She was always considered boring, and I'm like, but she's not.
She to me is also an ultimate it girl. Like, had this career in the gallery space in the art world, knew what she wanted, was progressive. You know, like I converted to Judaism. Like, I love it. I love her.
No, and I feel like on and just like that, she still has beautiful style. She does. It's elegant.
She is the epitome of like the timeless, chic Upper East Side or Connecticut girl. You know, like she's the epitome of that.
If someone were to be building a wardrobe now, I would be like, look at Charlotte.
Yes.
I would not say, oh, do what Carrie. And I feel like people try that and then it's like, it's a trendy mess. And it's like, no, look at Charlotte because Charlotte does everything right every single time. Charlotte does not have bad looks.
The glasses that she used to wear.
I was going to say the glasses she wears in the gallery with like a black dress and her little
Talk about that now. Like, the office siren or whatever you call it. Like, she's the OG.
No, justice for Charlotte.
Justice for Charlotte.
Justice for Charlotte. Sam, too. Sam, like, I don't feel like people ever talk about her style. And I'm like, the girl was given.
Sam, you talk about her like you're her friend.
I in my head.
You are a Sam.
Oh.
I get like Sam energy from you.
I am bold like her, but she makes some choices I wouldn't make.
No, aside from that, I mean, like, career-wise and personality-wise and, like, friendship-wise, like, let's be real, she was, like, the best friend.
She was. She's my favorite, not because she's so out there sexually. That's not why she's my favorite at all. She's my favorite because she's the friend that doesn't judge. She's always there for them.
You know she's
never fight
through.
Yep.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And she didn't take no shit.
Mm-hmm.
Even from them at the end, she was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, totally. No, I miss her friendship on the show. Like when she shows up for them, she shows up for them. Like they always could depend on her and she was always so loyal. And I love when she was like, thank you for not judging. And she's like, that's not my style.
Yeah.
She was the only one that like never turned on them. She was always just trying to be a good friend. So I love Sam. I'm sad that she's not on her.
I can talk about Sex and the City for hours.
I know. Me too. But you picked the perfect ultimate it girl, Pat Field. She's so, so good. Well, thank you so much for Thank you for having me. You are such an it girl, such a tastemaker, and I am so excited to see where you take it.
Thank you.
I really think there's such big things for you, and I could even see you styling on a show. 100%.
Maybe one day I'll end up like Pat Field.
I absolutely could see it. There's something to just having an eye. It's an unbelievable skill.
Thank you.
I don't know how you curate and make everything look so aesthetic. I could never.
Thank you.
And I just think it's amazing. Do you want to shout out your socials for all of us?
Yeah, you can find me online under our website's themillennialdecorator.com, or our Instagram is themillennialdecorator.
And I'm at Bailey T. Taylor, at It Girl the Series, at Bespoke TV. Thank you so much for listening. Keep an eye out for the Millennial Decorator because she's doing big things. This is the It Girl who creates the other It Girls, and we love her. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for having me.